Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Generation Y Conservative podcast. I'm glad that you could be with me tonight. You know, there's a lot of things going on in our country today that we as Americans, we that are paying attention to everything that's going on, are watching society kind of crumble apart. Just 10 years ago, we had a bunch of Democrats in office that would say, they're accusing us of being socialists and of socialist policies, but some of them were kind of hiding it. Some of them were saying that's democratic socialism, trying to, put confetti on it, I guess you could say, and everything. And they were trying to hide their true intentions. And now the masks have come completely off and they're not even hiding it anymore. Now they're outright saying, yes, we're socialists. And the young people in America think that this is a trendy type ideology that they're trying to follow along with, that for some reason it just didn't work in so many other countries before, but they can make it work here in America. Like somehow we can overturn this system that we've been used to for so long and go back to these archaic type ideologies. And there's a lot of dangers in that. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity tonight to talk to someone who has lived through these types of experiences and has come out on the other side. Just such an amazing story. I haven't even gotten the story myself from her yet, but I've heard through acquaintances that we have with each other and everything, her story, and I'm so excited to introduce Jacqueline Tseng. Jacqueline, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Chris, for having me here.
Absolutely. So, Jacqueline, you ran for the Congressional 7th District in Georgia, and then you switched and ran for the county commissioner down there as well. Unfortunately, you were unsuccessful with those, but that's okay because I still think that you have just such a great story. You have a huge future in politics, no matter what happened at that point, because at this point, if there's anything I could do to help get your name out there, that's what this is about too. I think you're just gonna be fantastic. So what I'd like to start with, Jacqueline, is why don't we go with your upbringing, okay? Where you came from, what your family life was like before the regime came in and took over. Why don't we talk about your family first, okay?
Okay, yeah. I was born in Cambodia. Phnom Penh is the capital city of Cambodia. And before everything took a turn, my family is an educator. He's a high school teacher. And at the time, that was a quote unquote is considered a noble profession. And my mom is a housewife, and she's home taking care of all of us kids. We were young, very young at the time, and life was good. We have a good, decent living. My dad, apart from being a teacher, he's also a businessman, and he and his parents own a jewelry business in Phnom Penh. That was going really well. My mom took care of us, and we go to. She teach us at home, but I was little at the time. I wasn't old enough to read or write or anything like that at the time. My brother was oldest at the time. He was very young, probably around 6, maybe 7 years old at the time. At the time there was 4 of us, and I was the youngest one. So everything was fine and dandy until one day it all took a turn, and that was life as it was at the time. And then things start to change, and our life changed forever. And do you want me to go further?
Well, how about I kind of give a little bit of the history that I learned last night, because I was trying to, what I'm shocked about myself as an American and coming up in this education system, which I hear through the grapevine, you have a very high interest in education as well with everything. I never heard of Pol Pot. I can't believe that I haven't. And when I started watching these documentaries to catch up on what to talk to you about, I was shocked, absolutely shocked. So let me go through what I learned last night, and then you kind of fill in some of the areas that you experienced and some of the things that I may not have heard from these documentaries and everything. But essentially, Pol Pot was raised as a peasant in the rice fields and everything, and was able to get an education, which eventually, I'm going to skip a lot of parts here, but eventually led him over to France, where he hooked up with a bunch of intellectuals, basically, that were following Marxist theology. He apparently didn't take a liking to Karl Marx, but he did take a liking to Stalin's ideology, and came back to Cambodia to work with and lead guerrilla groups to overthrow the government. And when he did so, the capital city, you're saying that you lived in the capital city at the time?
Yes, yes.
It said that when he took over, within 72 hours, they evacuated 2 million people. And anyone that was found found alive hiding out in the city, they took out into the streets and killed automatically. Now, I know, again, some of your story and everything, and I think you're going to be able to tell me what happened as you were pulled out of the city and everybody was kind of, everything was taken away from everyone. But some of the interesting things I saw on these documentaries was that in regards to, they believe the numbers were, because they can't track it properly, somewhere around the vicinity of him killing 2 million people, that
I think it's more
half
like
the Chinese population. Yeah, I mean, just when they lose track of numbers, let's be honest. I mean, it's going to be higher than what they're probably tracking. So they're saying something along the lines of half the Chinese population was wiped out. There's no living record of any Vietnamese population making it out. They completely wiped them out. Mass starvation, all in the name of obedience. Well, I'm sure you may be able to talk to me about S21 and that horror show and everything. But why don't we start with you and this evacuation? Do you remember the evacuation itself?
Oh yeah. Yes. My memory of the event is like flashback, but I can tell you the whole thing. It may not be in all the details, but the key point, because when tragic things happen, you tend to gravitate to it and remember it for a long, long time. And even happy, like special moments and all that you remember. So I remember this vividly, even though I was a very, very young child at the time. So this is what happened in my memory. What I remember is that everything was fine, and then all of a sudden you hear bombs, boom, and then you hear siren, you hear people talking. I mean, you hear announcement on the bullhorn and all that, saying to evacuate the city and all that. So, and you hear baby cries and all that, and you're just wondering what is going on. People are running in different directions in chaos, trying to find each other, the family member and all that in times like this. So my parents were told to evacuate the city and head toward the countryside. So what they did is they pack all of us. They tell us to get whatever we can hold with our two hands and just go. So whatever we can, that's where we're heading. So everybody had something in their hands, marching in the same direction, just like in the during the Nazi, when the Nazi Germany, when they the Jewish, when they tell them to go and evacuate, and they'll go to the
concentration camps and stuff.
Yes, the concentration camp.
Yeah.
So everybody's marching in the same direction, going toward the countryside. So along the way, my mom, she's always trying to figure out what's going on, what's going to happen at the other side when we get to the other side. So along the way, she hear from the grapevine what to expect and all that. So what she did, because she has 3 daughters and 1 son at the time, and so she decided to protect our identity and all that. She decided to shave all of her hair, and also for personal hygiene purposes too, because they don't know what they don't know, where we're going to be, what kind of living situation and all that. So to be on the safe side, she shaved all of our hair to disguise us. And being Chinese descent. I'm not all Cambodian. We're mixed, Chinese and Cambodian.
Gotcha.
And so
Okay.
that is at the time we are in danger of
Yeah.
yes. So that's what she did. She shaved all of our hair, trying to disguise our the way we look, slather mud on our face and our skin and all that. And then not only that, she trying to make sure that we have calluses on our hand and make sure that our hands are not clean looking, look like we've been working really, really hard. And then also along the way, she also prepped us how to speak, because when you encounter Pol Pot and his minions, his people, you cannot be found speaking to him in proper dialect. You have to speak in a dialect where it's more like slang, countryside, or people of less intelligent or less education. So we are taught to speak a certain way. So when we got to the checkpoint, we have to give up all of our personal belongings, valuable stuff, watches, ring, whatever it is. Lucky for my mom, she's a very, very smart lady. What she did during the time when we were traveling, she, whatever jewelry that she had with her, she sewed in the hem of her clothing, and then just so that we could have something later on. So that's what she did. They took our belongings and all that, but we have a little bit of that. And then once we got there, they asked us, they go through the adults, they ask, what do you do, where you're from, what do you do, and all that. But so we passed that first checkpoint. But the second time is that they separate the children from the parents. And especially if me being the youngest one, they separate me and put in an area where little children go. And what they do is—
How old were you at the time?
I was about 3.5. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So they brought us children to this big room and say, or area, and say, hey, you need tell us what your parents' name, how old you are, where you live, and write down their names, where you live, and all that. And if you don't do it, your parents are going to get executed. So let me backtrack. So when the adult were going through that questionnaire and all that, right? Those who answered that, oh, I'm a doctor, lawyer, and all that, they get sent to one side of the line, and the other ones who are blue collar worker, they work in the countryside and all that, they get sent to the other side. So if you're on this side where you're a government worker, doctors, lawyers, all that noble occupation, you get executed immediately. So the next step is to check on the kids, the children, to see if they would tell on the parents, because they want to make sure that you're telling the truth, the parents are telling the truth. So they use the children as a way to determine if they're telling the truth. So a lot of the kids, when they say, oh, if you don't write, by the end of the day, your parents will get executed. A lot of the children, they don't know, and they are frightened, right? So what they did is they write the name and the parents' name, where they came from, where they live, and all that, the parents' occupation. For me, at the time, I learned how to speak and all that, but I have not learned how to read or write. But I was worried. So I scribbled something really fast because I want to save my family, my parents.
Yeah.
But little did I know that I saved their lives. And the other kids who wrote the names and all that, they, along with the parents, get executed that same day.
The kids were too.
Yes, that's because it means that they are educated.
Right. And I think that's to the point that I was learning a lot about last night is you're talking about this group versus that group. The educators, the government workers, the doctors, the lawyers, everything like that. Anyone with an education is a threat intellectually to a regime in power because they can educate others into overthrowing that person. So you have to be kept basically at a peasant level and worker.
Exactly.
And worker.
Exactly, because that means you're able to think for yourself. Yes. So that was the first checkpoint. And then the second time, after that, we passed through. And then after that, they sent us to the countryside. The countryside is where we stayed in the labor camp. So the first part was in the concentration camp where they put you through all that. So now they send you to the labor camp in the countryside. And that, I am telling you, it is horrible because we live in a hut, a stilt hut. It's just four poles, a floor, and then a makeshift rooftop, from the front of a palm tree or whatever it is. And you have no privacy or anything like that. So you want privacy, you're gonna have to get something and just turn that into a wall. And so that's where we live. And my mom, the ladies get sent to work in the field, picking crops, planting rice, harvesting rice, and whatever it is. And then the guy, the men, they get sent to work on the other side where they have to plow the land and do much more labor-intensive work. But if you know, Cambodia is a very, very hot country. I mean, it's hot temperature-wise. It's really, really hot, and it's a lot of jungle and all that. So you do this work 12 hours a day, maybe more. And you have no protection at all. So you're out in the sun all day and then come back home late at night. And then you get 2 meals a day. Food was rationed. So 2 meals a day. It consists, you know what we have? Every day, a bowl of rice soup, morning for lunch, and a bowl of rice soup in the evening. And when I say rice soup, I'm not talking about a bowl of rice where you can see and just kind of liquidy. No, it's more like they have this big pot with a whole bunch of water in it, and then maybe a few grains of rice. And then you look at it, you see this cloudy water with a few grains of rice in it. And so over time, you become malnourished. And I remember that my parents, they try, when they're working in the field, they try to find whatever they can and then bring it home, hide it in their pocket or in the sleeve of their shirt or something, just to bring it home, bring it back to us to feed us. I remember one time my mom found, dig up some potato and brought it home. And then there's a few occasions where they find out and they beat her up really, really badly. But there's nothing that you can do. And my sister, my oldest sister, she too was very, very hungry. And then one time she tried to get some corn in the field. It wasn't a whole lot, it just 1 or 2. But the communist leader, and let me tell you, those people that they put in the leadership position, they are mere teenagers. They're like 12, 13 years old, 15 even, with this big rifle. And they are the one who determine whether you live or die. And if they don't like you because of how you look or the way you talk, they're gonna go to their leader and report and say, hey, I don't like this person, and accuse you of doing wrong things. And then you're gonna get executed. But luckily my sister, well, she got beaten really, really badly, but a good thing that they didn't kill her. But that's the thing that we went through. And one time, we were so malnourished that me and my siblings, we found some berries. I want to say berries or nuts, one of the two.
Right.
but we ate it. And then we became blind. I think there's a word for that. So we became blind because of that. I think it's because that berry was poisonous. And because our immune system was not great at all, with malnourished and all that, that together caused that effect of temporary blindness. My mom was so devastated that she almost took her life. But
oh my gosh,
because she was such a smart lady, she hid some jewelry in the hem of her clothing. She took that and secretly traded for some sugar, salt, and a little bit of food, just so that she can put it together with the that watered down rice soup to have a little bit more substance. So we're trying to find whatever kind of weeds that we can find that is edible and put it in that rice soup just to have some substance to it. And let me tell you how badly we're malnourished. I mean, I remember I was so skinny. You can see the rib cage, the number of ribs on my rib cage, and my stomach just ballooned up. And you know, your lack of certain nutrient that or mineral that your hands and feet became so swollen that if you use a needle or something to prick it, liquid will come out, and it's not going to be blood, it's just liquid. And that's how bad it is. But my mom and dad, they always tried to figure out a way to escape the labor camp. And so one day they were able to, after a long time of planning. So we finally escaped. We found a way to escape. We escaped. And with traveling during nighttime, mostly during the nighttime, because it's the best time to travel and the safest. So we took out on foot, bare feet, toward the Thailand border. And then along the way, the journey was very treacherous. There are times when we have to travel during the daytime, and daytime is hard because when you have no shoes on and you have to walk on the gravel, it is hot. Because I think of, you know, I have a dog. In the summertime, I take him out for walks and all that on the sidewalk, and I feel that it's hot. So I try not to take him out in the middle of the day because fear that the pavement will burn his feet. For us, the heat over there is really, really bad. I mean, so we're low on energy already, but we're having to force ourselves to walk really, really fast so that our feet won't get burned on the ground. And then there are times when we have to lay amongst dead bodies to hide. And when I say amongst dead body, it means not next to it, but you have to go underneath it, because if they see a person laying there, they want to make sure that that person is dead, so they're gonna put a bullet in it. So the best way to do it is to lay underneath the dead body, and that was not pleasant. You get nightmares.
I can imagine. Real quick before you go on, so just take me time frame wise, because I know his reign was somewhere between 3.5 to 4 years, which probably felt like a lifetime at that point. You were 3.5 years old when this started. How long were you in these working camps until your family did the escape?
I think we were there roughly about from 6 months to a year, I believe.
Okay.
No, maybe longer.
So you're now about 5 years old as you're escaping.
No. When I got here to the U.S., I'm 5.5, almost 6. So I would say about a year, because we spent a year in the refugee camp in Thailand.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Which we're getting to. So go ahead. So we're at what I'm seeing in these documentaries is that what they called the killing fields, which is ditches of just where they piled all these bodies. And to go along with what you were talking about earlier, being now malnourished and everything, it seems like the majority of deaths were from starvation, and those that weren't from starvation were the remains that were found afterwards as they're excavating this stuff years later is just bones crushed from brutal physical trauma to the head, and like they said something about hammers being used a lot and everything.
Oh yes.
And kind of to your point, what I found really interesting, and I think you may, it's not going to be as drastic as what you're talking about there, but you were talking about the teenagers that were the communist tools at the point in time that were watching over everyone with the rifles and everything, that it was basically fellow citizens that were used as tools and used against you. And after watching it last night, I just got to be honest with you, I've been thinking all day about just our current situation. Again, there's no way to compare what we're going through here with what you went through there. But the way that the government uses people, I think about today, like the government may mandate us to wear masks, but they're not really the ones clamping down on people. It's our own fellow citizens that are out there shouting and shaming us like brown shirts and the Nazis. Exactly. You know, it's insane how people can fall under this spell of being used as the main tool for their own government and everything. It's insane to me.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Those are just people like you and me, and then all of a sudden they've been brainwashed, and they decide that they want to be on the other side because they get hold of the guns and all that, and determine your life outcome. So
where you left off was hiding in these killing fields, the pits of dead bodies, and having to crawl underneath them and everything. And you're on your journey right now with a group, including your family members, to get out. So take me from there now that we're at that point.
Yes. So through the jungle we went, and then we had, of course, in this group we have one leader, because that leader knows the terrain and where to expect. They know how to detect landmines and all that, right? So we have to be very, very careful during our travel, because anyone misstepped will result in a deadly consequence. So at the time, if you're little, the parents will have to carry the young kid and all that, and the step will have to be very strategic, especially during the when we're going through the landmine. So everybody has to be, the leader would know where to step, and we have to follow the exact footstep, because it happened and we saw it happen. It was devastating. So we went through the minefields, past it, thank goodness. And then, so one treacherous journey to the next, one place at a time, one step at a time. And along the way, we don't have much to eat. There are times when we have to eat things that I wouldn't be so proud to say, but any kind of living creature. We drink much water, it's brown, but it's water. You need something to drink to survive. I guess during that time, it's just that will to survive that really pushed you to do the things that you need to do to survive. And I guess it's in that human nature. So, and then after that, we came to the border, and that is another challenge that we face. So every step of the way, there's always a challenge, whether it be with food, whether it be with trying to disguise ourselves, or hiding out in the jungle, or watching people get executed as we're in hideout and all that. But once we get to the border, the Thailand border, there are guerrillas everywhere on the Cambodian side, and also on the Thailand side is the Thai border patrol. So both don't want us to leave or enter. So the guerrilla shoot us because they think that we're traitors. The Thailand border patrol don't want us in because they say, oh no, we can't take any more people. We don't want you guys here. But the refugee camp is over there. That's run by the UN. I mean, that it is the United Nations refugee camp. But so we have to go through a lot of crossfire, dodging crossfire and all that. So we escape from running from one trenches to the other and to the other, to finally we're able to cross over by the grace of God. But that has its consequences. My mom, during our run, she had to made a very difficult decision. So we have to stick with the group. Somehow we lost our dad. I think maybe he was trying to help other people in the group. I don't know what happened. It happened so fast that by the time we realized it was too late. And my mom, with 4 children at the time, she had to make a big decision whether to move forward or go back with her 4 kids to find our dad. But she's smart. She made the right decision because she said her train of thought at the time was, my dad, he's old enough to think for himself and would be able to defend himself if he needs to, or hide out and all that. But to take all of us children and risk all of our lives would be foolish of her. So she decided to stick with the group and move forward toward the border. And that's what she did. So we're able to come to the refugee camp in Thailand, the United Nations refugee camp. We stayed there for a year. And luckily, my mom has a sister who moved to France before all this thing took place, a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
I mean, before. And then she also has an uncle that moved. He was a pilot. He moved to the United States. He lived in California. I don't know how she remembered how to contact with them, but at the time in the refugee camp, before they even consider letting us advance to the next place, is that we have to have an affidavit. Who is gonna be responsible for us, when we come, right? So she put out—
Basically like a sponsor, correct?
Yes, a sponsor. So she didn't know what to do. So she put in for both, France toward her sister and one for my uncle. And luckily, the response from the U.S. came first. So she said, okay, let's pursue this direction. And I'm so thankful that it happened the way it happened, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. And so much appreciate this country. So after that, they sent us to the, well, let me tell you a little bit about the refugee camp in Thailand. Refugee camp in Thailand. Well, we're not fighting for our life, that's for sure. But still, food was still rationed. They still it's better than watered down rice soup. Let me just say, it's a great up.
I bet.
But still, they did not give us everything that was scheduled to give us. So I guess I don't want to say government corruption, but it is. They just give us a portion of what was supposed to be given to us, refugee. So we still have to make ends meet. So we tried to plant our own little vegetable garden for vegetable and all that. And the rice that they give us, we try to stretch it by finding creative ways to cook, and noodles. that pretty much that's our ration, rice and noodles, and very little meat. So, and then I do remember that we do try, they did try to teach us some English, but it wasn't a lot. I don't remember anything other than thank you. But our year in Thailand went by, and then they sent us to the Philippines. There we stay in the Philippines, the U.S. Refugee Processing Center, for 6 months. And I don't remember much about the Philippines except that I know there was a earthquake, and we were able to enjoy being out there for a little bit, but that was it. And then we came here to the U.S.
And where did you come to in the U.S.? Was it California, where her uncle was?
Yeah, well, we landed in I'm pretty sure we landed in California briefly, not a whole lot to stay, but just like a layover. But we came here straight to the state of Georgia. Yeah.
Okay, so how about we pause here for a second, okay? And I want to talk about, there's a couple big topics that you and I kind of went back and forth messaging on that I want to hit tonight. Mm-hmm. And the first topic being what you went through there was straight up communism, okay? Mm-hmm. And you have apparently made it one of your life goals to warn people here mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. about the dangers of socialism and communism. So what do you see happening in America today? Things that are warning signs that maybe people don't see if they're not in the type of position where they've had life experiences like yourself?
See, the thing about people in this country, I mean, especially people who think that socialism is all great and all that, or communism, is that they don't understand it. And I think, quite frankly, they think that they are entitled. This sense of entitlement is really big on their shoulder. But let me just walk you through when we first came here to the United States. So my mom came here to the US with 5 young children. So I told you that there was 4 of us, but somebody helped her along the way. So they end up together, because with 4 children at a time, it was hard. So So when we came here, she came here with 5 young children under the age of 11. And well, when we got here, life wasn't all pretty. Well, I mean, I remember how tough it was. So my mom doesn't speak in English at all when we first came. So she was determined to make sure that we have the opportunity to be successful in our own way. So education has always been a big thing for her. So she works 3 jobs to support all of us. And the 4 of us, the older kids, we help out as much as we can to help her make ends meet. Because although she works 3 jobs at the time, she was not getting paid a lot. So she was willing to take out whatever kind of job that would pay so that she can put food on the table and just providing us with the basic life necessity. So we had to mature before our age. We were latchkey kids. We walked to school, and which seemed to be 5 miles one way. It may be around that ballpark because the area that we live
uphill
in,
both ways too.
Yes. and we don't have much at all. We live in this tiny little apartment in College Park, Georgia. It's tough. It's tough. Yeah. The area, let me tell you, at the time, it's rough. It's a rough neighborhood, and there's a lot of drugs, alcohol, and sort of prostitution and all that. So, and my mom worries about our well-being. So she set very strict rules for us and expectation. So she told, what I remember this vividly. She said, you go to school, you have friends at school, and that's where you socialize. When you come back home, you lock yourself up at home because she's always at work. She didn't come home until late at night. So she said, you lock yourself at home, do your house chore, do your homework, and take care of each other. Because your brother and sister is all you have. So she said, this is her analogy. One chopstick, we use chopstick. One chopstick is really easy to break, but a bunch of chopsticks together is very hard to break. So her message to us is, when you go out, stick together. You leave home together, you come back home together, to and from school, and you be together, take care of each other when I'm not home. And she expects nothing but the best. I'm telling you, for somebody that doesn't know English and all that, but she knows an A, the difference between an A and an F on a report card. So she said,
I bet.
and she knows when report card time is coming too. So she say, I better not see anything less than an A on your report card. And if you bring home anything less than that, pick your stick or pick your whip. Meaning, she said, pick a belt, pick your favorite belt, but if it's not a good enough belt for me to my standard, then I will help you pick. And just be ready. Whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock or whatever, I will wake you up and you will get your consequences.
Yeah.
So
not allowed to parent like that anymore, huh?
And I'm telling you, she meant what she said and she says what she meant. And she has chores for us laid out and it gets rotated every week. So let's just say this week I'm in charge of cooking, preparing food for the whole family. And then my sister would be in charge of cleaning the dishes or mopping the floor or washing clothes and ironing clothes. So everybody have a chore and it gets rotated. And that's what she taught us. Working hard, persevere. And as we get older, we pick up jobs. At first, it started out with babysitting a whole bunch of kids in this tiny little apartment. And we hardly get paid, I guess, for 2 kids. I'm talking about really little, under the age of, one of them is 2, a toddler, and 2 or 3 years old, brother and sister. 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. We get $20 a week for those 2 kids. That's how little we get paid. But that's okay because we're earning money to help my mom with the finances. And as we get older, the work gets harder and harder. So my brother, I remember my brother walked to work at Pizza Inn. I don't know if you know Pizza Inn, but it's no longer in existence. But Pizza Inn, it's a long walk. But he walked there to work and come back late at night. Every opportunity there is. I mean, if the boss said that, oh, we have slot available, you want to pick it up? He said, yes, I want to do it. And all of us too. And one day, when he was in high school, he was in high school and some of us are in middle school. We took up this, he found a friend at church. And I tell you about my, how we became Christian. This gentleman who owns a tour bus, he wanted to help us. He wanted to help our family. So he said, hey, we have some buses coming in, but it won't come in until late at night, after 10 or 11 weekdays. My brother said, okay, we'll be there. So all of us, the 4 of us, went. After 10 or 11 on a weekday, we washed that whole bus, from inside out, emptying out the toilet and all that, the whole 9 yards, all of us. And then by the time we got done, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Came home, sleep for a couple hours, and then got up and walked to school. And that's what we did. And then later on, we pick up work in the restaurants and all that, washing dishes or waiting on table. And that's how that's how we put ourselves through college, is working through all these different places that would pay us. And we did not move into our first home until I graduated from high school already. I mean, my last year in high school. That's when we're able to save enough money, all of us. We worked, signed the back of our paycheck, and give it to my mom, and she's the one who handled the finances and all that. So she's able to save that money and put a down payment for a home in Riverdale. And that's when I'm able to share a room with my sister. Before, we were stacked on top of each other in that tiny little apartment. So that's how it is. And then we worked hard and put ourselves through college. We went to Georgia State University. I went to Georgia State University, got a business degree there. And this is what the American dream is this country give us so many opportunity, countless opportunity. It is there, it's out there. It is up to us to go and grab on and hang on to it and have that willpower, persevere, and have that determination to pursue that American dream, whatever it is.
We can see with what you went through.
Yes.
I think that's, I think it goes along with what you said about entitlement and people feeling entitled to things. They feel like if you live here, if you exist here in this country, that you're entitled to the American dream and everything. And it's fascinating to see people like yourself and one of my personal heroes, Christopher Gardner, who I don't know if you ever saw the movie In the Pursuit of Happiness with Will Ferrell. He went from nothing, living in a bathroom on a subway with his son, to like a powerful Wall Street guy and everything. And it just, the grind that people like yourself have to go through to achieve that, but it is there. And it seems like so many people go and hit these minor walls or obstacles, or what may seem like a huge obstacle, but that it can be overcome and that you can achieve these things. So you're a living example. You are an example of the American dream now. And I have a quick question. When you were talking about being in school and working late, doing all your studying and everything, staying up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, doing all this stuff, and then going to school the next day, I would have to imagine that you sat there in class with the students around you that were completely oblivious to what you were going through.
True. That is true.
Yeah.
So growing up, and if you're not from College Park at the time, you probably you're not familiar with the situation over there. But College Park during the time that I lived, it's rough. And I can tell you that I still have my fair share of prejudice, racism, bullying and all that. But, if kids today, they went through what I went through back then, I don't think they can survive. But
they're too thin skinned now, yeah.
I get name calling and all that all the time, but I don't let that determine my future. We kept our head up high and just stay focused on why we're there at school, is to learn, to get educated. We don't let people's mean words or derogatory saying and all that put us down. It's tough. It's hard, but we don't allow that. We don't let that.
there's no better person to come from the example of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean,
Yeah.
the stuff that your people went through to being called names, I mean, that is just like flick it off the shoulder type stuff at that
Yes.
point
Yes.
compared to what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk real quick about the American dream, though. Is the American dream here in this country something that's still achievable, or do we have a society that is breaking that apart and not making it possible? And before you answer that, I have an example for you. I find it fascinating that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could be a bartender and then go to Congress and then tell people that they can't do that, like shutting the door behind her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It is
what do you think?
crazy.
Is this achievable? Is the American dream still achievable, or are we shutting the door on people behind us?
No, it is still achievable. No, it is still achievable. I mean, this is the greatest country in the world. And I'm telling you, it is. I've been on the other side of freedom, and I know what it's like.
Yep.
And there is no other place that I would rather be than here. And quite frankly, the opportunities are still there. We just have to work hard. We just have to not be lazy. Put a little effort. You'll be surprised of how much you can achieve. Be determined. Persevere in the things that you do. Don't give up on the first try. Because there are so many times when I try to do something and I fail. If I gave up at the time, I would not be where I am today. And so this country affords you so many things. I mean, I got my mom, she instilled a lot of great values in us when we were little, and that still carry with us today. Good education is one of them. So that's why her desire at the time is for us to have a good job. She didn't want us to go through what she went through, you know, working so hard, long hours and all that. She wants us to have a desk job or a job that can make an impact for ourselves and to our society. And that's what she designed for us. And she would help us in any way. If it means that she works 3 jobs or 4 jobs, or if it means that she skips a meal so that she can save a little bit of money for us. But hard work, get the education, because education may make you super rich, but it will get you out of your current situation, the poverty.
Yeah.
Right? At least for me.
Yeah.
At least for me.
A couple questions for you in regards to your life and what it applies to you. Okay. So number one, do you have, and this is just out of curiosity, do you have any family that was left behind in that situation that survived through that and that you were able to reconnect with it all? Or did the whole family come over that made it?
Sadly to say, my aunt in Paris is still in Paris.
Yeah. Okay.
My uncle, my mom's uncle, he's still in California, but she has a sister in Colorado. But other than that, that's it. My grandparents, I don't have any grandparents. I never know them. They passed away when we were, I didn't get to see them. So it's just me and my family. And
crazy. Okay.
I do believe that my mom has some friends, maybe 1 or 2 friends over there. But other than that, I don't know anybody.
when we're talking about the immigration policies here in the United States, I've personally gotten to a lot of debates and arguments in regards to immigration with, over the past couple of years, the caravans coming up from South America and this argument about the refugee situation and everything. And I completely am on board with, number one, legal immigration. I believe that
Yes.
you being a prime example on my screen right now, that there are people that will work their butts off and be so much more beneficial to society than our own people that are born here a lot of times, okay? So I see the value in it. I see the value in human life in that kind of way. The refugee situation is something completely different, that I also see the value in saving people, getting them out of these terror situations like yourself and what you went through. But I also see situations like we've seen over the past couple of years with these caravans coming up and them claiming refugee status when it didn't seem like they were actually coming from that kind of circumstance. Where do you sit in this country on the policy of immigration that we have now, being that you've gone through this type of this ordeal?
So for me, it has always been. Immigration, it has to be safe, legal, and fair. And I come through this country the legal way. I waited in line. I went through the process of becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen. And I followed the law. And it should be that way for the caravan and all that. They really, really want help. Why would you want to travel a couple thousand miles to here to get help? There's other ways that we can do it. And why is it that the United States of America have to be the sole entity that is responsible for these caravans? What happened to the United Nations? Why can't we set up refugee camp that is closer to home, to the border, right? And help them that way. Let's just say, for example, you have a sick aunt. I have a sick aunt, let's just say in North Carolina, and she's needed help. She has nobody to care for her. Would I ask her to come to my house so that I can care for her, or would I go over there to help? The most logical way to do is go over there and take care of her, right? Take some time off and care for her. Same thing with here. They don't need to be traveling a couple thousand miles. Why can't the world chip in, United Nations, set up some kind of refugee camp or area where they can provide the much needed assistance, where they can be comfortable closer to home or in the comfort of their own home? They are not in a situation where I don't believe that they are in a situation where their life is
in danger.
Yes.
Right.
Because if you look at these pictures of these people from the caravan, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, these people are traveling in luxury because they have cell phones, they have nice clothing, shoes, and all that. I'm thinking, do they really need help?
There's stations or embassies and everything located throughout multiple countries that they literally walked right past, where they could claim a refugee status, and they instead decided to go past all these embassies, make their way up through Mexico, and even at the border where they could claim the refugee status at one of the passing points, they decide to enter illegally anyway. But then they want to claim refugee status once they get caught on the other side of the border. That tells me something.
Yeah,
does it not?
Yeah,
does it not?
Yeah, and that's why we. For in that sense, that's not the immigration that I have in mind. We have to secure that border.
Right.
Because A country is not a country without border. Just like
Yep.
your home. You don't call it home unless you have four walls and a door and you feel safe in it.
Yeah.
But if you leave it wide open and anybody can come in and claim, this is my room, I'm entitled to it and all that. No, that's not called home.
Kind of tongue in cheek here with a little bit of dry humor, if you don't mind. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you dealt with your fair share of racism and you're a minority. So why would you be a Republican?
Because, see, I'm a part of the Republic. I'm a Republican because of the way I was raised. A lot of the ideology and the principle that's instilled in me at a very young age is very much aligned with the Republican ideology. Republican, some people on the left may say that it's a party of racist, xenophobe, and whatever it is that they call it. But that is so not true. I'm a member of the Republican Party here in Gwinnett County in the state of Georgia for a while. And I've met with a lot of great Republicans, and that's not what the party is all about. On the contrary, it's the left, the Democrat Party is much more so than what is being said about the Republican. So I don't see that as a thing of the Republican Party. No, I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
It's more about the ideology. America is built on American exceptionalism, and you work hard, you study hard, you will get to where you want to be. And the core value, conservative value, family, individual freedom, liberty, right? And self-sufficient. It's what instilled in me. And this is what the Republican Party is all about. And that's what America is all about. Because if you look at the U.S. Constitution,
that's falling away on the wayside with people too.
Exactly.
And
you look at the U.S. Constitution and all that, that's what it's all about. It's not about being racist and all that. It's about the rights of all people.
I think one of the main questions I started with, I don't feel like you wanted to finish your story. So I want to go back to that question though, because I think you have a lot to say about it. What would you say to those that say we just haven't tried the right type of socialism here or communism? Like, do you see red flags right now in the news, the way people are acting with things that immediately in your mind, knowing the history, even researching the history on things you may not have known that you were going through at the time and remembering your own memories and everything, do these types of things just set off red flags with you? Like, what are you guys thinking?
Yes. It is so easy to idolize this socialism or communism. What is it? But saying is one thing, having lived through it is another thing. So let me just tell you. So all these candidates, for the longest, we have a long list of Democratic candidates, right? And during that campaign, they were talking about free education, free health care for all, and open borders, legalize full-term abortion, and who does that? Taking away our guns, and now they want to defund the police. Little do they know that this is the exact playbook that any socialist or communist would use to turn any freedom-loving country into a communist or socialist society. And
what is the process? What is the process that they go through to, like, step by step, to manipulate us into those systems to ensure that we don't understand it's happening and we don't have the ability to fight back? Because I've heard you talk about this already.
Yes. Yes. So this is how it goes. So first, they want to take away your, your freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. So, and then they want to take your away your guns, and then they want to give away free stuff. So freedom of speech, they want to silence you. They don't want you to speak up for what you believe. After that, they want to take away your ability to fight. So the guns and all that is a tool that you use to fight against, right? And then they want for you to be dependent on the government for everything, for the basic life necessity and all that. And once you become, because it's a process, once you're comfortable with it, and then they push you on to the next one and the next one. And then once you are comfortable with that, that's when the full dictatorship comes into play. And that's the playbook that they use.
It's inevitable every time that those that are a threat to that establishment or that get in the way are stomped on.
Right.
They're just terminated.
Right. Right. So, and I see that happening in this country little by little. So it started out with political correctness, right? I think as far as I can remember, it was during the Clinton era. Oh, this is not politically correct and all that. So everybody has to be very careful about what they say and how they say it and all that. And then now they want to take away our Second Amendment. You can't. All these candidates are advocating to stop gun owners from getting guns or taking away our guns when they get elected and all that. Now they're also advocating for a whole bunch of free stuff, free healthcare, free education, and all that.
Yeah.
It sounds easy if you're on the receiving end and you don't know anything about it. Yes, because you don't want to work hard for what you believe. You don't want to work hard to pursue your American dream. And of course, free stuff sounds good, but nothing is free. And that's what I teach my 12-year-old son, is that nothing is free. And he knows that very well. He goes to school and he knows how to determine if somebody is a Republican or Democrat from a different country. He understands. Like,
that's awesome. At 12 years old, that's a good skill at that point, that's for sure.
Yes. So it is not, let's just say it's not pretty. It is not pretty. In fact, it's very dangerous. Because if this country turned into the country from which I fled, to me, there is no United States of America for me or anybody to run to for refuge.
Yep.
Because a lot of people, a lot of immigrants like myself, who came here legally to this country, we came here because of freedom and liberty and the endless opportunities that this country has to offer. So if anybody is foolish enough enough to try to turn this into that communist or socialist society, then they are in for a really, really big surprise, not in a good way.
Yeah. The one thing I keep on saying to people right now as a sign of hope is, for all the times lately over the past couple of years that people have asked on the left why we need guns, why do you need an AR-15? This year, 2020, has answered that question. With all the riots, the defunding of the police, when the police aren't there to protect you, who's left but yourself?
Exactly, exactly.
I
You
think
have
I
to,
think that the left has taken that Second Amendment argument off the table for politics for the next decade. I don't
yes.
think that there will be gun control measures brought up for quite a while, because I think that there's plenty of liberals that have lined up at gun stores and found out that the gun show loophole isn't such a thing and that you can't just grab a gun right away.
Mhm.
So it's amazing that I've watched some of these people go, "Oh, what do you mean I can't just walk out with a gun? What the heck is going on with that?" You know, it's just crazy. But I am interested, because I'm a Christian myself as well. If you have time, if you're willing to, do you want to
Yes.
tell me your story about being a Christian and coming to Christianity?
Oh, yes. Let me just tell you, because I don't want to put that in the first place, is because I want to keep it a topic itself. So this is how we became Christian, me and my sibling first, and then my mom. So when we were growing up, we don't have much. And
Mhm.
so there's no such thing as entertainment or weekend entertainment. The only time we get to watch TV is on Friday night and Saturday night. That was it. And then Sunday night come, because it's a weekday, because Monday's a school day, we no TV on Sunday. And so quite frankly, our life is quite boring, quote unquote. So we have to entertain ourselves. But one day, when my brother was in high school, he met an ESL teacher.
Okay.
I don't know if I should mention her name. Her name is Patty Van Horn, and
Okay.
she learned about our family, and she wants to help. So one day, she asked my brother if we wanted to go to church, and we all asked, "Oh, let us check our social calendar and see what we have going on Wednesday night." The big fat nothing. So we came home and asked my mom the next day, asked if we can go to church for Bible study on Wednesday. And my mom said, "Okay, you can go, but you all have to go together. You can't just go one person." And so my brother asked his teacher if we all can come, his siblings can come. So she said, fine. She has this big station wagon. So Wednesday night, she came and picked us up to go to church and Bible study. And then one night become two, so it becomes a routine thing. So every Wednesday night, she'll come and pick us up. And then let me just tell you, at the end of the month, and I will never forget this, at the end of the month, we always look forward to this treat, big treat for us. She would swing by on the way back home from church. She would swing by Dairy Queen, and she would get us a dipped cone ice cream. I am
Yeah.
telling you. I am telling you, for somebody, I mean, when we were growing up, this is a big deal, because there are days when we have to eat ramen noodles, lunch, breakfast, and dinner, or saltine cracker with mayonnaise and ketchup sandwich is like heaven. So to have this treat once a month at the end of the month, it's a huge thing. We look forward to that. We look at our calendar. When is that day going to come? So that was a big treat. Anyway, so Wednesday night Bible study becomes Sunday school, and then worship and all
Hmm.
that. So long story short, it became a thing for us. So she would come and pick us up Wednesday night, and then again on Sunday to go to church and all that. So, and then she would help us go to what is it called, summer camp vacation Bible study camp during the summertime for a couple of days and all that. So after a while, that's when we decided, you know what? I think we need to convert. We something kind of speak to us one day. So we all decided to get baptized. And she was so happy. And then after we became born again Christian, we tried to spread the message and get my mom to convert, because by default we're Buddhists. We follow the Buddhist
Yes.
religion. So for the longest, she would say no, 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 until one day, I think something just clicked. And she said, you know what? All my children are Christian. I think I'm going to join them. And so she started to go to church and study the Bible. And then she found some friends to go to and study the Bible too and all that. So now she is also a Christian.
And how is your mom today? Is like everything good there?
Yes, my mom is great. She has, let me see, she has a total of 8 grandsons. She has
She's
4
living
girls.
it up then.
Yeah, she has 4 girls and 1 boy. And let me tell you, growing up, she was, because girls require a lot more things than boys. So she said, gosh, I have so many girls. I wish I had more boys. It's like, be careful what you wish for. Because now she's like, how come I don't have any granddaughters?
I was just thinking there before when you were talking about the Dairy Queen experience and that really stuck out to you. I was thinking, for some it takes the threat of hell, for others the promise of ice cream, to get you to go to church. So
yes.
Well, listen.
One more thing about.
I want to give you. Yeah.
Chris, let me share with you one more thing. This.
Sure.
See, a lot of people who are so used to all these freedom, opportunity, that they tend to take it for granted, whether they realize it or not. But it seems like they take things for granted. But for me, I can tell you that when my family and I first set foot in this country, in this great nation, I am so proud, especially when we became naturalized U.S. citizens. I'm so proud to be an American and love this country and really appreciate the freedom and liberty that he has given me and my family. And so let me just share with you what freedom really tastes like when I first set
Absolutely.
foot. So when we first set foot in the American soil, I remember, because granted, we were on the run for a long, long time, and we eat all kinds of crazy stuff. So when we got here, we were given different kinds of fruits, but I was given a golden, delicious apple. And I remember taking a big bite out of that apple. I remember what it tastes like. It was juicy, it was crisp, and it was refreshing. And I remember asking my mom, what is this? And she say, it's apple. I say, apple? How come I don't know that this thing exists? This is what freedom tastes like to me. It's that refreshing feeling, the taste. Every time I bite an apple, I remember. And I remember landing in this country. It's so pretty, it's so beautiful. I go, wow, everything is clean, and it makes you just want to, it's home to me. And a lot of people don't realize the simple thing as an apple.
Oh, I can imagine.
And what I'm afraid of is that what people are trying to do, the threat of socialism here in America is really frightening. So I will continue to be engaged and participate and, help spread the message far and wide to make sure that people understand what it's all about, socialism, communism, whatever it is, and the danger that it can bring to.
Well, Jacqueline, I have to say you're an inspiration. I am so happy and proud for you to be an American with me. I'm so happy that you're a sister in Christ with me. And I just thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story. And yeah, if you ever want to come back and share any other experience, I'd be happy to have you. I'd be happy to talk to you again. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chris.
Is there anything that you want to share in regards to if people want to find out more about you and follow along with you at all?
Oh yeah, I am on Facebook, Jacqueline Tseng, and Twitter is oh, I forgot my Twitter.
Well, if you text that to me, I can put it on a text on the video for you. Okay.
Okay, that'd be great. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight for this conversation. I hope to have many more in the near future. To Jacqueline here, the American dream, the taste of it tastes like an apple. Unfortunately, I grew up right here and was blessed with these opportunities right off the bat. So freedom to me tastes like a Five Guys cheeseburger, unfortunately, which is something that will end up killing me. So I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. Have a great night, and God bless America.
Thank you.